Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk with Sadie. I have another very special guest and I can't wait to introduce you to him. You can follow me on Instagram at SadieNLA96. You can listen to this on Spotify and Apple Podcast, Real Talk with Sadie. And if you want to watch the video, this will be on my YouTube channel at SadieNLA96. But without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Sparky Tehnsuko, who recently directed such a profound short film called Villain. And you may know their name. They're quite huge right now in The Last of Us, but Bella Ramsey starred as the lead character. And also, is that Isla Guy? Is that how you pronounce
That's
their
right,
name?
Isla Gee.
Isla Guy, exactly. And so I believe right now, is it true that you're making its rounds in the festivals? And so, yeah.
Basically the film has had its world premiere at the Fantaspoa Festival, which is a fantasy festival that takes place in Porto Alegre in Brazil. It had a couple of screenings there, which unfortunately I was not able to attend. So I'm just kind of trying to run a load of Portuguese reviews through Google Translate to try and figure out if people liked it or not. And
Yep.
this weekend, I'll be attending the Coney Island Film Festival, where it's
Yes, that
playing.
is exciting. Oh, that's going to be a huge hit. And have you been to New York before?
I've been to New York, never left Manhattan while I was there, so I'll be
Okay.
interested to see Brooklyn.
Oh, I'm super excited for Villain to really, make its rounds and open to the public. So I can't wait to see that. And people are gonna absolutely love it. I'm such into like intense kind of thriller, and this is like medieval times, but we'll talk about it really soon. But
Sure.
thank you again for coming on. This is a great podcast. I'm just so excited because you are incredibly talented. People need to know who you are. You're making big things, and I'm excited for that. So,
Oh,
Sparky,
thank you.
I like your last name. I know we talked off air about this Tensuko. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
No, basically, my surname is one of my airs of mystery. So I just like to let people assume.
It's such a great name too for the film industry, Sparky Tensuko. And fun fact, I
Thanks.
was looking at your IMDb. Is your real name Mark? Is that correct?
It is. So Sparky is a
Okay.
nickname I've had for longer than I have not had it. I got given it when I was about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Just people calling me Marky Sparky at drama school, and then it stuck. And I got to the point where more people knew me as Sparky than knew me as Mark. And then there was a point when I was working professionally where I just started realizing I don't need to be putting my government name on my like credits and things. So just
Ooh,
went full in on Sparky.
it's
That's how
fantastic.
people know me.
I love it. You have a spark in your eyes. No, Sparky. I love the name. So you're obviously in the United Kingdom, which I've never been, and I want to go so badly, especially London. It's super iconic. But what part of the UK do you live in?
I live just west of London, which
Okay.
is kind of where all the film studios are mainly based. Whenever you hear
Oh,
something is made in London, it's not. It's usually based just outside of London, in
interesting.
like Pinewood Studios, etc.
Okay.
I come from a city called Portsmouth, which is on the south coast of England, but that's not too far from London.
Okay.
And I
Hey,
have spent some
Portsmouth.
time living in London. Mhm.
Oh, I was thinking Portland. Okay, so my husband and I's favorite show is called Doc Martin. Have you heard of that?
I have. I know people who
Okay.
worked on that as well.
Are you serious? So that's one of our favorite shows. Not a lot of people know about it, but I guess that's not Portsmouth, is it? But I believe it's like Port something. So it just sparked my
Yeah,
brain.
I can't remember the name of the town in it, but that's generally down in the West Country in like Cornwall area, which is it's exactly as
Yeah.
idyllic as it looks on screen. I've been to like Cornwall on holiday
Hmm.
many times and never get
Yeah.
sick of it. So yeah, it's lovely.
That little beach town is so cool. That'd be a dream of mine to like go to London, and then I think it's like a at least a 2 hour plus drive or
It
something
is
to
a bit
get there.
far from London, but
Hmm.
worth it.
Yeah. But what do you love living about the UK? Have you been to California? And it's totally
I've
different.
not. No, as I say, I've been to New York, but
Mhm.
that's as far. I've never actually been on the west coast of any part of America. I've otherwise been to like east coast of Mexico. But yeah, one day
Mhm.
I'll get out to like actually visit LA. I'll go to the Grand Canyon. I'll go to Yosemite. I'll see all of the
Yep.
wonderful things that America has to offer. But so far, it's just been, hey, where can I buy a lighter that looks like the Statue of Liberty?
True, very touristy. Well, one day, Sparky, you'll be at the Oscars or the Emmys, so we'll see you in Los Angeles quite soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, but let's get into it. So you are a writer and director. Do you know which came first for you?
Definitely
Or
writer.
yeah.
I basically started writing just kind of little nonsense stories when I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, and then when I was in school, I started kind of writing little plays for my drama class that I was in, largely just because no one else would. And I remember the first thing I ever kind of wrote and directed, again, just kind of because no one else was doing it, was this little comedy play about that was for numeracy week or something, but it was just like a game show where everything was just stuff about numbers. But yeah, that kind
Interesting.
of set me on a path.
That is very cool. And so you're ambitious. And so did you write just freely? Or did a lot of ideas in your mind? Did you have a lot of ideas in your
Sometimes,
mind and
yeah.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, like I wrote like little short stories just as like little journal things. I wrote some little short films and then eventually started making them when I was in my later teens. I always had plans to like write a book. I still haven't yet, but I've got some plans to still.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, it was that was like the first thing that when I was a kid, when everyone was saying they want to be like a fireman or an astronaut or anything, the first thing that I
Uh-huh.
remember thinking I want to be that is a writer.
Oh, that's fantastic. That brings me into my question about like what is your first memory of like being captivated by I guess the film industry, but I guess for you maybe it's more like is it called screenplay, more like theater? Like what sparked your interest? Did you watch something as a kid that you're like, "Oh, I'm going to try writing."
To be honest, I think because I watched a lot of films all through my childhood, and
Mhm.
I think the one that like really makes me think of like like staring at the screen, astonished that it could exist, was probably something like Terminator 2. Just
Whoa.
watching like a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger films were the kinds that I would watch as like a kid and just think, my God, this is like some impressive special effects um and just thinking this is better than like the soap operas and things that my mum's
Yeah.
watching.
It's kind
And
of mind-blowing.
yeah, so that's
Well,
probably the first thing when I was a kid. And you know other things like Flight of the Navigator, like tastes obviously are different now than they were when I was a kid, and I'm sure Flight of the Navigator probably doesn't hold up as well. But at the
no.
time, like that was something that I remember just staring at the screen and being amazed by, and like ET and stuff. ET holds up at least, yeah.
Oh, E.T. is phenomenal. It's still a nostalgic movie. It's a feel-good movie. It's my mom's actually favorite movie, and I gifted her an
Mm,
E.T. stuffed animal once when I went to Universal
amazing.
Studios. So the Terminator is obviously American movies, and I'm super
Mm.
fascinated about people who live in different countries. So were you more influenced by American films than UK films? Is there such a thing like UK versus American films? And what did you
There,
gravitate
there
towards?
are UK films. The strange thing is, like, a lot of American films are made in the UK by British crew, but like with
Okay.
American producers. But there are a lot of British films that are made as well. I mean, basically everything that gave Hugh Grant his career immediately. Things like I don't know if you seen um, oh God, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's by Ken Russell. Anyway, The Lair of the White Worm,
Nice.
and
Okay.
Hammer horror films, and
Yeah.
of course like Four Weddings and a Funeral. All of those are like British. And then
Okay.
there's there's a lot of other kind of different films coming from, say, Scotland. You've got Lynn Ramsey films. She's more recently been making things like We Need to Talk About Kevin and
Okay.
You Were Never Really Here, but she started making films like Ratcatcher and More Than Colour, which are both incredible films. Um,
Wow. Okay.
and
There
in
are.
terms of American films, it's volume and quality that means that they play more than any other nation's films. Like, of course, like
True.
we have like things from Australia, like Mad Max, will play on British TV and cinemas and things,
Okay.
but there'll be any given week in the cinema, then there's like so many American films that will be there because there's just more
Yeah.
production by America. And of course, as with any kind of artistic industry, there's lots of hit and miss, but there's a
Mhm.
massive amount of American films that I watched growing up and kind of
Okay.
didn't realize that there was British films until I was older.
See, that's super, super fascinating. I mean, we saturate the whole industry, I'm pretty sure. And music too. Um, really
Mm.
quickly, speaking of music, do you watch Eurovision? I keep seeing advertisements for that. Are you a fan of that?
I personally don't. I sometimes do because it's just kind of like a camp enjoyment that you
Okay.
can just kind of sit down with friends and have a laugh about. But it's like I'm much more into kind of like heavy metal and stuff, so it's not really my kind of music,
Um,
but it's always a bit of fun anyway.
right on. So you were influenced by American films. Does that mean you're influenced by American music, like Metallica and like Slipknot?
Yes, but also like that's one area where I think like UK has a real kind of leg up over America, because if you look at like
Ooh,
rock music and things, then you've got like Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and like everyone who kind of started it, Led
true.
Zeppelin and the Beatles and Rolling Stones, and I could just go on and on and on. But like
Yeah.
the UK music industry is definitely one that has had way more global exposure than the UK film industry.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
the
I think
films of like Ken Loach or I don't know uh, oh, I keep forgetting everyone's names that I want to go for.
I know I have
Mike
Google in the background. You can
Mike
help.
Lee is another British filmmaker I admire. But yeah, the films of those kinds of people generally do well amongst like very specifically film nerds. But there's very little that's made that is like big and explosive and like
Sure.
caters to a very very wide audience and gets global exposure in the same way as a lot of American films do.
Very good. You're super insightful. Thank you, Sparky. So back to
Thanks.
like the filming era. Did you actually attend film school? Because I know you said you're a writer as a young kid. So later on in life, did you go to film school, theater school?
I well, both actually. I started
Oh,
off going to just a Saturday morning theatre arts school when I was a
oh,
teenager, which was initially it wasn't even to get me to be an actor or anything like that. It was actually just because I mumbled a lot, and all of my teachers and my parents just wanted to like give me a bit of confidence, and I think it worked.
hey,
And I enjoyed it, but after I kind of realized that I didn't really like being on stage or in front of the camera too much, I got into the idea of making short films and things. And when I finally did go to university, which I did a bit later than many of my
hmm,
friends,
yeah,
then it was to do film studies. So yeah,
wow,
I spent a lot of time analyzing the French New Wave and German Expressionism from the 1920s, and occasionally
wow,
actually getting my hands on a camera to try and physically make a film as well.
that is super cool. Would you consider yourself to be a techie person?
Absolutely. Like, it's so much
Yeah.
that I cannot. Like, I
Oh,
my bread and butter for like the last 10 years, whenever I'm not making films, has been in IT. I do a lot
right
of
on.
IT stuff, and even though I don't consider myself a camera person whatsoever, I still have always been kind of fascinated with like figuring out the like technical specifications of them, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd in that
I
area.
love I love that. My husband, he is a computer well, software engineer. He's super, super
Mm.
techie. his passion project is photography. So he knows everything about cameras and the millimeters and all of that. It goes over my head, but that's a special skill you have. I love that.
Well, thanks.
So, a question for you in terms of feature films and short films. What is your favorite? So, big limelight movie versus your favorite short film.
It'll change every single day I ever get asked that, but my favorite feature film, let's say for the moment that because there's so many I could choose from, but one that is particularly coming to the front of my brain at the moment is Children of Men, which is an Alfonso Cuarón movie starring Clive Owen, and yeah, it's absolutely such a technical achievement. It's kind of subtle sci-fi, in that it's
Okay.
just set in an alternative kind of present or future, and the camera work. There's like huge swathes of like very active things and like camera shots that last like 8 to 10 minutes, unbroken,
Whoa.
and
That is
um, they have full-on war zones that the characters are running through, and blood spraying at the camera when people are shot and things. And
whew,
yeah,
that is
insane
insane.
how they managed to achieve it and keep it emotional at the same time as bombastic.
Looks great. I actually never heard of it. I need to watch it. And the cast looks great. Clive Owen,
Mm.
Julianne Moore, Claire
Hmm.
Hope. And there's 2006. Very good. And
And
then
Chiwetel
short
Ejiofor,
film.
I love him.
Oh yeah,
Sorry, I was
can't
just
complain.
saying Chiwetel Ejiofor. He's
Very
such a good
good.
actor and he's in great stuff.
Oh, fantastic.
Short film.
Well, there's so many
Um,
movies.
there's very short film's weird because like you could go for things like What's Opera Doc, with Bugs Bunny and stuff. That still kind of counts as a short film. There's so much that counts as a short film, but I'm going to go more with the kinds that I and my peers like are making, which is kind of more modern short narratives. And there's I kind of seem to be going towards horror with this, but there's two that come to mind particularly, or three actually. I'm going to say three. There's one called Blinky TM,
Okay.
which is by a guy named Rory Robinson, and it is starring Max Record, the kid that was in Where the Wild Things Are. And it is
Yeah.
basically about a boy who receives a helper robot during a time when his parents are going through a tumultuous time in their marriage, and he takes his rage out on the robot to disastrous consequences. Um, there's also
Wow.
one called uh, uh, I think it's from the 70s, Spanish or Mexican, I'm not sure which one, film called La Cabina, which is literally about
Wow.
a man getting stuck in a phone box. And I won't go on any more about that, but it is available in full on YouTube and is
Okay.
brilliant. And
Oh,
the third one is a film called um, Six Shooter. Six Shooter, which is by Martin McDonagh, who made things like Three Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, and In Bruges. And it's very much kind of sets the scene for the kind of comedy and violence that is in Bruges. It's basically about
wow.
a man on a train who comes across someone who is absolutely obnoxious and has some secrets. But yeah,
Very interesting. Thank you so much for that list. You're gonna have to email me a whole itinerary of some of your favorite films. 'Cause I feel like you're
absolutely.
really into sci-fi. I can tell. Did you like World of Worlds? The
Um,
one with Tom Cruise?
I thought that was okay. I didn't think it was one of Spielberg's best movies, or Tom Cruise's best movies, but it definitely did have just an incredible soundscape, and there's some brilliant cinematography
Yeah,
in there as well. But
there are.
yeah,
But very good. So more about you. So I saw your IMDb, and you have a lot of work in bigger films, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, 1917, Kick-Ass 2, and
that
Pan,
was me
right?
working as a runner or an assistant director.
Yeah,
So smaller
that's
capacity,
cool.
but yeah,
Those roles are important though to make things all come together, and you're helping the cast and crew out in ways. I was craft services, and I was a PA a couple times on short films, It was a lot of
Yeah.
work, actually. Did you enjoy it?
It was a lot of work, and it went from me really, really enjoying it all the way through the spectrum to me absolutely hating it. But then it would come and go, absolutely. Usually, like weather dependent, but like sometimes when you're on a night shoot and it's 3 a.m. and you're standing in the absolute terrible rain, and all you're doing is just like trying to stop a car from coming down a country road that's going to be seen in the background of the shot, and you just think, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
But then there's other times when like you're just standing, just trying to wrangle some extras in a scene where everything's exploding and everyone's in these amazing costumes and whatever. So yeah, it's swings and roundabouts.
It
It
can break
goes
you.
good and bad.
Yeah. Are you, because you're a writer and director, were you trying to ever make connections with those people? I know Guardians of the Galaxy, it's James Gunn. Did you get to speak with him?
Not in any capacity like that. Like
No,
there's a very big kind of etiquette on film in that you are there to do the job that you're there to do. So
I can imagine.
sometimes at like rap parties or whatever, then I may be able to speak to a director or an actor or something and be able to talk more personally. But
Mhm.
generally, from day to day, it was more along the case of just speaking to them and saying like, okay, we need you in makeup in 8 minutes flat.
Sure. But that's, like I said, even though it's a smaller role, it's still, you're providing a lot for the whole film essentially. But now you became a director for your own short film, Villain. Can you tell us about that? The trailer's phenomenal, by the way. Like, it captivated me so quickly. I'm hooked. It kind of gave me vibes of Hereditary. I don't know why, but something about the dark lighting and the music. So yeah, tell us what Villain's about.
I'm really glad you picked up on that. Actually, that was specifically a an inspiration that I said to our cinematographer. This is kind of the look of darkness that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I love Hereditary, but in terms of villain, it's quite a personal story that is dressed up in metaphor. It's basically about a girl whose home is destroyed by a dragon, so she seeks revenge on it. But
Wow.
when she finds it in its lair, or when she goes and hunts it in its lair, then she finds another young little girl in that cave, and then has to deal with the consequences of her being there. Um,
Ooh.
and it's a story that I wrote probably in about 2019 sometime, but never really thought I would be able to make it because it was very ambitious. And I think I just wrote it as catharsis because, as I say, it's based on kind of a real story. And then when the pandemic hit, then myself and a lot of the creative people that I ended up getting involved in the film were all just sat at home, absolutely bored out of our minds. So we decided to just all kind of come together and try and do something with our time. So we developed this short, which has explosions and dragons and VFX, and has like
Ooh.
a house burning down, and has like actors that we genuinely didn't think we were going to get. Like it's amazing that we got Bella involved.
Oh,
Bella
that is,
has done such an incredible job, both obviously in The Last of Us and Game of Thrones and Catherine Called Birdie, etc., but also on Villain. She's done
yeah.
an amazing job. Um, they have really like done amazingly, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Um, so can you dive a little bit on what inspired you for the script? You said it was on a personal story. Are you able to share a little bit about that? Like you saw a
Um,
dragon in real life? I'm kidding.
no, it's the dragon is basically just based on an angry person, and
Oh,
it's effectively just about family dynamics of
mhm.
one person who has a lot of anger towards someone who has hurt them and their family, and
Wow.
there being someone of absolute innocence who does not feel that same anger.
Wow. That's actually really beautiful. And it's kind of therapeutic in a way, right? To make those emotions come to life and film, and you can show it however you want. But I think it's very cathartic in a way. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
that's
That was
awesome.
the whole point of writing it was catharsis. So, like I
Yeah.
say, I didn't imagine we'd get to make it, but the pandemic just opened opportunities to get people that we'd never be able to otherwise get because they were
Wow.
sat at home, not being able to do anything and waiting for everything to be open again.
Exactly, and people are hungry to wanna act again, and the lull time was just so, so long. So, yeah, that brings me to the
Absolutely.
question, like, how did you want to specifically cast Bella and Isla? Was there an audition process? Because they're incredible. And really quickly, Catherine Called Brady is my absolute favorite movie. My husband and I have watched it, like, 15 times on Amazon Prime. It is so witty and brilliant. Oh, it's so good.
It is great. I've only watched it the
Yeah.
once, but yeah, it's a
Okay.
fantastic movie. And in terms of casting, I was not really thinking that big. Whenever I've made short films in the past, they've been generally a bit more amateur. So I would just kind of cast very, very locally. But this was the first one where one of the people that we got involved was a
Mhm.
casting director.
Cool.
And this casting director, Kat Dickey, she just gave us a list of people that would be potentially good for the lead role, and Bella's name was at the top. And I immediately just said, if Bella Ramsey
Mm.
wants to do it, I don't even need to see an audition. Like, I would
You're
love
ready.
for Bella to be involved. And she read the script and um, yeah, got involved, and I'm really
Incredible.
happy about it. As for
Yeah.
Isla, we weren't aware of her before. She's actually had quite a few roles in things like she's in The Sandman on Netflix. We saw her after she was in Villain. Then we saw her in the theatrical run of Matilda on in London's West End as Matilda.
Cool.
Um, and Basically we were looking for someone who would be that young and that good, and we had a lot of sort of home recorded self tapes sent to
Mhm.
us, and Isla was just incredible. Like, there was, as soon as we saw her audition, then there was no hesitation in who would be perfect for the role, and we're really glad we had her.
Ah, such a blessing. There's so much behind the scenes about, like, casting and making sure they have the right tone for it. Is it ever
Mm.
stressful picking your cast? It seems like it could be.
It is. I mean,
Mm.
on previous like more amateur things that I've done,
Mhm.
as I say, then I didn't have a casting director, and it was more just myself and my producer, Sedge, who's also my wife.
Mhm.
We would effectively just be doing an open casting call. We'd get a load of people applying for roles, and then we'd be looking through them and just being super judgmental and didn't like
Oh,
it. Just being like, no, 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 this person's not right. No, 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 this person's whatever. And then um, yeah, I didn't like the process of casting. I really liked being able to hand that off to someone who would just be able to say,
true.
"Here are some people that it's a short list of people who would be able to do this role very well, and they look the part, and they can
Yeah.
act the part, and everything about it." And I just then can, yeah, just
Perfect.
focus on performance or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm a very sympathetic person, and empathetic, I would have a hard time casting. I want everybody. I would see the hope in, like, you could be really bad, but I see one good thing in you and be like, "You're hired." No,
Mm.
I don't think I'd be good at that. But can you tell me kind of like your fondest memory on set? And how long was it too? So I'm sure you got close with everybody. So any
Well,
great
we
memories?
the actual shoot was not too long. We had because obviously a lot of this was done still during the pandemic, so
Mhm.
there were rehearsals and discussions and things over Zoom for months. But in terms of the actual shoot, we had one in-person rehearsal day um, a week in advance of the shoot, and then we filmed it over one weekend
Wow.
at just farmland in just the countryside. We found somewhere with basically a field and a barn that they had only recently purchased, and they weren't going to be able to do anything with it until the spring. So we just said, can we burn a thing down in the middle of that field, and that barn that's sitting empty, can we kind of use that as like a stage and build a set in there? And they said, yeah, sure. So yeah, that
So
worked
right
out.
on. Would you call yourself a
In terms of,
pie
sorry, I was just going to say, in terms of the happiest memory. Um, Generally, I remember there's a bit where Bella is running at fire. Excuse me. Bella's running at fire, and my direction, I remember just going up to them and saying, this is the absolute quintessential point of anger. So all I want from you while you're running in this direction is anger, 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 fire, 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 death, death, death. And then I just yelled that out as we called action, and Bella killed it. It was brilliant.
Oh, I got goosebumps watching that. What an intense setting. And fire. That seems risky. At least you're in a field. Were you ever worried about that? And do you have to get clearance? That just goes over my head. Like in Last of Us, I believe
Excuse
like
me.
episode 8 with David's scene. It was like, we need
Mm,
more fire. And it was very specific on where to burn everything because it's liability.
yeah. There's a lot of preparation that's needed. We had a special effects coordinator or supervisor
Mhm.
that was very much experienced in setting fires and containing
Cool.
them. And we had fire cover as well. We had, like, just for insurance, we had some basically firemen just standing by in case anything went wrong. Um,
Yep.
but everything was very controlled, and nothing was left to chance. A lot of the fire that you see, unless it's a very, very wide shot, a lot of it is actually just a fire that's like right here in front of the camera. So just like a little fire that's
Ah,
made to look very large. But yeah, obviously the burning down of
okay.
the hut, which is right at the beginning of it and is in the trailer, that was us actually just setting fire to that hut that our art department spent a very long time building, and we're thankful to
Yeah.
them for doing it and sorry for them for burning it down.
I was gonna say you only had one hut to burn. Do you have to get it right? Like, I always thought, what if something goes wrong and you're kind of shit out of luck?
Well, it we were lucky in that we basically had decided for the film to start when it was fully burning. We didn't need to see it like starting or ending. We could just get it while it was fully ablaze,
Perfect.
and it stayed in that way for about like 10 minutes nearly. So
Very
we
cool.
we effectively just set it on fire, waited until it was big enough, and then we just did a bunch of takes where Bella would be in the shot or out of the shot as needed, and then we'd move the camera and then move it back and move it forward, just do whatever we needed while it was still burning. So yeah, we only set it on fire once, but thankfully we had a lot of time to play with
Ah,
while it was on fire.
absolutely amazing. Do you have like any memories of the hardest part of shooting this short film? And it was over the weekend, so that is a very quick time. And how did you overcome that challenge, if any?
The hardest part was actually the end of the film, which I don't want to give too much away,
Okay.
but effectively, we had planned for it to be much more well lit than it is. So you had a better sense of exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm.
But our electrical department sadly reached the end of the time that they were able to stay before they started packing up their stuff. So we had no generator available, we had no lighting gear, and thankfully our special effects wizard, his name is Manix Ephraim, he managed to rig up effectively a very decent fire torch for Bella to be holding,
Whoa.
which we then
Whoa.
used to light effectively the whole end scene, and
Oh.
that was that managed to give us something to film to finish the film with.
Fabulous. That is so cool. Right on. Oh, so proud of you. I bet it's amazing to see some of your work just come to life. Is this the favorite? Because there's another short film I saw on YouTube. What was
Mm.
it called? Something Tell. I just had it up. It was 6 years ago, a short film that you directed. Um,
It'd be They Call Me the Kid.
there we go. I was thinking Tell. But yeah, They Call Me the
Yeah.
Kid. I just watched it and it was fantastic too. Super
I'm glad
different
you liked it.
from, yeah, super different from Villain. Is that from a memory too that you had?
It's well, it was written by a friend of mine, Alan Power,
Mhm.
So I didn't have anything more than just notes on it, but it's definitely something that did spark a lot of familiarity from things in my youth. The film They Call Me the Kid is effectively about a young boy who kind of very quickly gets a feeling that he needs to grow up and
Yeah.
kind of leave his childhood behind. Um, it, represented in the film, obviously, by his imaginary cowboy friend, who he leaves at the fun fair, and that's obviously where we got the name for our production company, Cowboy
I was
Fun
gonna
Fair
ask you, I
Productions.
had a feeling it was connecting because the description of the film is like cowboys, fun fairs, and something else. So very good.
Yeah,
So I think people should probably watch Villain and then watch this a little bit lighthearted, possibly.
yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah.
fantastic though about Villain, and congrats. It's gonna be a huge hit. So is there any
Thanks.
way for the public to watch it just yet? And how is that working out right now?
Not just yet, because we are, as I say, just at the beginning of our festival cycle, and
Right.
festivals do like to have some exclusivity. If there's something
Mhm.
that they can say, hey, you can only watch it here, buy a ticket, and sit in the cinema and watch it, then that's a bigger reason to go to the
Yeah.
festival and see it there, which is also, of course, we want it to be seen in a cinema. It's as much as it is a short film, it very
Hmm.
much was filmed with cinemas in mind. And the
Absolutely.
sound as well is best experienced in a cinema. We have a wonderful score by the artist Joe Quayle, who I recommend everyone check out on Spotify as well. And the um, the film will eventually go online once it has been kind of deemed acceptable for it to be available to everyone in the world, whenever and wherever they want it. But at the
Yeah.
moment, we've got to keep it a bit exclusive, just so that it
Okay.
has some more um, festivals to play in.
I hope it comes to Los Angeles. It's so big here and everyone wants to see short films. There's a couple small
I'd love
theaters
to
that
have it played in Los Angeles. If
please.
anyone wants to set up a private viewing, then let me know.
How fun would that be? And I hope that I
Mm.
can meet you in person one day because I would absolutely, it'd be an honor.
It would
But
be
I
great,
wanted
yeah.
to just, yay. But I want to talk to you about like this your writing and like directing. So do you have a lot of things written up and how do you know what to decide to make something into a film or rather just to be cathartic and just leave it be on paper? What decides something to get created into film?
It's it's difficult to say. That I do have a lot of ideas that I'm working on,
Mhm.
but some of them are really fleshed out ideas where I've got a full story. Some of them are simply concepts that I don't really have a story
Mhm.
for, and then there's others that they're just kind of at the beginning of a story and I haven't figured out the end or whatever. But they're all very different, so I'm not quite sure exactly what inspires each one of them. Um, the Basically, I can talk about a couple of things that I'm working on just in the writing stage at the moment. So
Sure.
I'm working on a feature version of Villain, which is basically what happens immediately after the events of Villain. Sorry, we've got a phone
Ooh.
just going
No,
off here.
take
Can I
your
put
time.
that? Yep.
Busy
So
bee.
we've got yeah, we've got a feature version of Villain set after the events of the short film. Then we've also got an idea for a feature called Piano Man, which is effectively about um, a young man who is a young mute man who is discovered um, and mistaken for a missing prodigy at the piano,
Oh.
and it's about the caseworker who's assigned to him and tries to kind of attach this person's tabloid fame to give himself some purpose because he's feeling a bit
Mhm.
out of purpose. And then in terms of concept stuff, I've got this one called Thin Air, which I'm trying to decide what kind of scale to do it, but it's all about effectively how the world would be exactly how the world would be absolutely ruined if teleportation was invented. Um, because the economy would immediately die. Every single thing that requires any kind of transportation immediately useless, and the amount of people that would be out of work from that. But yeah, so
You're
that's a few things
absolutely
I'm working on.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You have such a creative mind. Do you dream about all your films? Do you ever dream and ideas come to mind? You're like, write that down. It's like 2 a.m. Do you have a notebook by your bedside?
I don't have a notebook, but I do just have my phone and the notes app. And
That
yes,
works.
that absolutely does happen. It's either when I am just like lying awake and not able to sleep, and I've just got my mind racing, or sometimes I will literally have something in a dream, and I'll just think that's an interesting idea. Is that something? And I'll write it down. And
Right.
anyone that you ask that to, I'm sure they'll have the same experience where sometimes they get up and they look at the note that they wrote in the middle of the night, and it's something that actually could make sense. And then
Yeah.
others, it's just something along the lines of avocado goldfish, and you have no idea what the hell you were dreaming about.
I love that so much. But you're absolutely brilliant. So, what do you think your greatest strength is as a director and your weaknesses? There's always weaknesses, but I want to hear both your strengths and
I would
weaknesses.
say the greatest strength I have is, to be honest, it's just my confidence in being able to uh, effectively trying to sorry, basically just getting people to um, come together, coordinating everyone into a shared vision. I like being able to just speak about something I'm passionate about and instill that in the people who are working on it with me. And I feel I've got ability to do that just with my voice. The thing that I think is my greatest weakness is that I very often try to do too many things at once, and that's something I'm very much trying to put aside. Like this was the one of the first projects where I didn't have myself editing it, and I wasn't doing like random little bits of VFX, because like I used to do like little tiny bits of VFX and would like try and do them on my film instead of getting other people to do them. I try to do so many things all by myself, and they say jack of all trades is a master of none. So I
True.
always thought I was spreading myself thinly. So I'm trying to stop that now.
Okay, you have a good balance. I would say I'm the same thing too, but it can be a strength in a way too because you're producing so much so fast in a way. But no, thank you for opening up about that. So we talked about your upcoming projects. I'm super excited for Thin Air. That seems like a super great idea. Oh, I can't wait for that.
That's
So,
unfortunately the one that's least written so far, but I've got quite a few ideas with it.
okay,
I'm just trying to decide on a specific direction and like what the main character's
okay,
motivations would be. So
okay.
yeah, that's
Well,
it's
maybe
coming,
I can.
but it's
Okay.
slower.
Hopefully, I'll put some ideas in for you too. I got some ideas already. Avocado goldfish is one of them. I'll let you know how that you can
I
incorporate
had
that
that
into
idea already.
it. um, but I was thinking because I'm seriously a short film fanatic, so I have a
Mm,
family friend who does tons of short films. It's funny
mm.
enough. You mentioned something about friends getting stuck in a phone booth. Well, I worked on a set called Ringer, where this guy gets stuck in a phone booth, and it's kind of attacking him. I think it's up your alley. I'll have to share it with you.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'd like that.
sure. But I was thinking short films obviously can range from like what 10 minutes all the way up to an hour, but I feel like you're able to convey a complete story or message without dragging it on for too long. Do you
Mm.
like that about short films too?
I do, yeah. Like there's many kinds of ways that a short film can be made, and some of it is a fully comprehensive short film that
Hmm.
has beginning, middle, and end. Some of it is just the start of a story that's designed to leave you wanting a bit more. Some of it is effectively like a joke where it's a big setup and the end is the punchline. And
Hmm.
I think there's amazing stuff that is done in all of those veins. And then, of course, you've got the more artistic kind of things which don't have straightforward narrative flow, but are designed more just to make you feel something,
Right.
however they do it.
Make you feel something. That's really,
Mm,
really a key factor to that. And
mm.
how do you real did you when making Villain, did you have it longer and then you condensed it? It's a 10-minute film, is that correct?
It is, yeah. There
Yeah.
wasn't really anything particularly longer. There was I mentioned about the protagonist journeying to the dragon's lair,
Hmm.
and the journey is no longer in the film, but there was originally a scene of basically the journey that going along this massive trek. But then, of
Hmm.
course, we just realised it didn't really need to be in the story, and it would take up more time and things. But
Hmm.
nothing in terms of like actual story was particularly cut from it, because effectively I feel like the film is kind of just um, it's kind of three scenes. There's the beginning scene, which sets everything up. There's
Hmm.
the very quick second scene, which makes the character make a decision, and then there's the rest of the film, which is a confrontation. It's got lots of different kind of directions within that confrontation, and that, but it is still, if I feel like it's all still very fluid.
Very good. And you pack a lot into such a short amount of time, and you want to captivate the audience from the beginning
Mm,
to the end. It seems like a lot of pressure, and you do a really good job. So proud of you. So
I
we have a little
appreciate
bit
that.
of time. Yeah, you're welcome. We have a little bit of time left, and I want to just do fun personal questions because I think everyone has different answers, and I love to know just like who you are outside of your work. So, what do you do, or what's your favorite way to unwind and relax when you're not working?
Um, if it's good weather, I like to go outside and run. It's not really unwinding, I suppose, but that's something I do just to clear
Yeah.
my head.
Hmm.
And if it's not good weather, then apart from obviously watching a million films, which is my first go-to, then it is
Absolutely.
playing games or playing guitar. I like to play guitar. And,
Ooh.
yeah,
And games, you're talking about video games, right? Do you have a
I am talking
PS5?
about video games. I also play D&D, or well, I used to play D&D when I
Cool.
had time, but I've got a toddler at the moment, so I haven't played D&D for years now.
Oh, well,
But I'd
congrats.
love to again.
So you're a dad. Are you married?
I am, yes. My
Oh,
producer, my usual producer, Sedge Dave, is my wife as well, and we
that's
had
right.
our daughter Koa a couple of years ago, and she's lovely.
Congrats. Beautiful,
Thanks.
beautiful. That's an awesome name too. What good names in your family, my God. Uh, so what's your go-to comfort food or guilty pleasure snack? I know in the UK everyone says takeaway, and I keep seeing on my TikTok Chinese takeaways. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I keep seeing it all over. But what's your comfort food?
Well, takeaway is just anything that you don't eat in a restaurant. So yeah, Chinese takeaway
Yeah,
is that, or delivery, or whatever. It's the same thing basically. But
oh, same thing.
uh,
Okay.
I think of everything that there is to get delivered. Again, like favorite films, favorite food will change all the time. But
Mm.
as you're saying this, then I think I am really particularly partial to curries.
Oh yeah, that's a good answer.
I really like spicy
Okay.
food, and
Oh,
yeah, always have. So that's something I just always really like to dig into a good curry.
oh, I'm obsessed with spicy. Like, have you seen the show on YouTube, Hot Ones, where they interview and eat the
Yes,
hot things? Okay.
one day I will
Oh, you
match
have to.
Sean wing for wing.
Oh, Sean Evans. Oh, I've actually tried to message him. Like, I need to get on your show and interview him because I actually have the hot sauce. It's the last dab, and I just ran out, and I just ordered another one. Like, that's how spicy I
Nice,
can do it. Have you tried it?
nice. I haven't actually. I haven't even tried the bomb,
Okay,
but
I'm gonna have to.
I will at some point.
Okay, I'll send you one. I can get you a little sample one as a thank you for coming on to this podcast. I'm gonna get
That'd
you
be amazing.
the hot sauces. Okay, sounds good. Um, so if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Um, that's a very good question, actually. To be honest, the one that's really kind of stood out for me a lot is that I've not been to yet. Is Mongolia. I don't know if you're aware of the show Long Way Round or Long Way Down. It's Ewan McGregor
Mm.
um, yeah, it's basically just taking motorcycles on long trips around the world. And one of the places they stopped in, I think, the first series, which was Long Way Round, was Mongolia, and it just seems like the most absolutely breathtaking place with the most incredible people.
Oh.
And I would love to visit just literally from that. I've also got a massive love for many other places.
Mhm.
I would love to go to Tahiti. They call me the kid played there, and I didn't get to go, and I felt very upset about that. But I've not been quite that far around the world, but and New Zealand as well. There's a lot
Mhm.
of places, to be honest. I'm not as well
Oh,
traveled
yes.
as I would love to be.
You will though, and if you get your films in different countries, you can go there. That'd be so cool.
Hmm,
But yeah, Mongolia, what a
yeah.
brilliant answer. You're the first person I've ever met who said Mongolia. But no, that's
Hmm.
great. Speaking of unique places, my grandpa always said he wanted to go to Tasmania, which I don't even know
Oh
where it's
yeah.
located, but I think it's by New Zealand, like off the coast. But that's a unique
It's an
place.
Australian territory.
Oh,
It's just
Australia.
off of Australia on the
Oh, okay.
southeast, I think.
You know of that. That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I
Do you
also know
have
just a
like
really random fact is that apart from Afghanistan, a massive amount of the world's opium is coming from Tasmania as well.
no kidding.
But it's
So
just where
if you
poppies
weren't
grow.
directing or writing, you could have been a teacher.
Ah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you have a skill or hobby that might surprise people? Any secret
Um,
talent?
I I don't know. I can sing in terms of just something that would more surprise people. I'll see if I can do it here, but I can vibrate my eyes. I don't know if it's
Oh my
picking
god,
that
you
up.
can't do that where it goes shifting.
Yeah,
That's a talent. That counts.
yeah.
Well, thank you for
I
that.
always used to call it my Johnny Five. I don't know if you remember Short Circuit, the movies, but he does the
No,
thing where
gosh, you know
when he
everything. I feel
reads and his
so
eyes just go.
lame.
But yeah,
I feel so lame not knowing any shows that you've mentioned. But now I told you you're
it's
gonna
all
have to
good.
send me a list of shows. It's all good. um, do you have any pets? And if so,
I
tell me
don't
about them.
actually. Haven't for a long
Okay.
time. Had some hamsters growing up and some budgies when I was a teenager, but ever
Mhm.
since I've lived on my own and had a family, then I've just not really had the time to have
Yeah.
pets, unfortunately.
I have 2 cats and they are fur babies. I think those are my
Mm.
kids forever. Maybe we'll be parents one day, but no, that's good too. And you can actually travel if you don't have pets. I think it makes it easier.
That's part of it, I think, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so because you're a writer, do you read a lot of books or poems? Like, do you have a favorite book?
I do. I particularly it's a film. It's a book that I would absolutely love to adapt into a film at some point in the future, and it's by a writer called Ian Banks, a Scottish writer, and
Cool.
he his first book was called The Wasp Factory, which is about a very, 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 very strange young man who lives on an isolated island and has a very warped worldview. And
Interesting.
it's a very shocking book, but it's still something that resonated with me as a teenager, just being someone who felt very alien to the world.
Oh, you should adapt that. That would be a dream of yours. I can just imagine. So I want to read that book too. Okay, so thank you for that. Um, so is that a personal goal? That was my next question. Do you have a personal goal or dream that you haven't yet achieved?
I mean, that would be absolutely fantastic, but
Yes,
just it, other than that specific story, my immediate goal is just to make a feature film that gets played around the world in cinemas and that people watch and enjoy. That's the goal.
absolutely. Oh yeah, that's a great goal, and you will get there. There's no doubt. I seriously.
Mm.
So, if you can have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Now, that's a very good question, and I don't know if I have an answer for it.
You know a
Um,
lot. You know a lot. Ooh.
I do know some, but not a lot. Um, I think if I could have dinner with literally anyone, um, I think I'd probably have it with historical figure. I don't know who. Um, let us say let let us say I don't know. Frederick Douglass is someone I think would be
Oh,
absolutely incredible to talk with. The life that man lived.
that is
Yeah,
such a good answer. That'd be really emotional, but man, he liberated so many people. That's a great, great,
yeah.
great story. That's a good answer.
I think
Um,
that is a dinner that I would barely say anything, and I just would have him
just
talk a lot, and I'd just listen
you
with
just
my
be
arms like
the
this.
mouthpiece. Seriously. Oh, what good answers you have. And I'll end it here. What is something
Thanks.
that makes you feel happy and fulfilled in life?
My family, absolutely my family. My wife and my daughter are the absolute rocks in my life, and there's never a
Hmm.
day when I would like to have my life be any other way.
Oh, brilliant. Family is super important and keeps you grounded and keeps you going. So
Mm.
Sparky Tehnsuko, thank you so much for joining me. So proud of all your work and for Villain to be a super successful film. You're doing incredible. I can't wait to see more from you. And where can people follow you and check out your work?
I'm on both Twitter and Instagram at Tensuko, and otherwise on our website cowboyfunfair.co.uk. Then you can see whatever we're working on at the moment.
Fabulous. You're such a pleasure.
Uh,
And I'll see you soon.
all right. Thanks. See you
Bye.
soon. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Of course. Bye.